Making DIY recycled paper is fun and easy, but it still took me months before making it, mainly because I didn't have some of the equipment. In the end, I decided to improvise, and even though the process took a bit longer, it still worked, and the final result was great. First, I broke down some paper scraps. You can use newspapers, office paper, junk mail, envelopes, and old greeting cards. After I broke the paper into small pieces, I added boiling water and let the paper soak in for a few days. This was just because I wanted to see if I could avoid using a blender, but if you want to speed up the process, you can soak up the paper in boiling water for a few hours and then blend the paper with water. You will need a mold and decal, which is two separate frames of the same size with a mesh for making paper. I didn't have it, so I improvised one that actually wasn't that great, but it still kinda worked, just made the whole process slower. I collected some flowers from my garden to add to the paper. You can add leaves, grass, threads, or any other crafty material to your paper pulp to create different textures and colors. If you do the slower version without the blender, you will need to manually break down the paper with something like a grinder or just with your hands. After you have your paper pulp, get a big container and fill it up with clean water. Add the paper pulp, flowers, leaves, and whatever else you want to incorporate into the paper. Dip your frame in the water and move it a little bit. When you lift it, you will have the paper fibers over the mesh. The important thing is to make sure the fibers are distributed evenly, so it creates a consistent sheet. After draining it well, I left it to dry for a little while under the sun. This step is not a must if you have a proper mold and decal, but because of my improvised one, it was the only way to make it work. After that, I used a sponge to press the wet paper over a clean towel. And then really gently, I separated the frame from it. I really needed to be careful because it was super fragile and easy to break. I repeated the process a couple of times, and in the end, I left the recycled paper to dry under the sun for a few hours. Since it was hot, the paper dried quite fast. Then I placed the dry paper sheets under a heavy book to get more pressed. This recycled paper is very crafty and great for writing letters and cute notes. You can store it in a dry place under something heavy so it stays flat. I will repeat the process and try to improve it, but anyhow, this was a fun experiment. I wrote an article with more details and FAQ section, so if you would like to learn more, I will leave the link to it in the description. And if you have some questions I did not include in the article, let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.